Imagine a coastline stretching over 1,000 miles, guarded by thousands of tiny, fast-moving boats, each one a potential suicide craft. Imagine a narrow gateway, a mere 21 miles wide, through which 1/5 of the entire world's oil supply must pass every single day. This is the Strait of Hormuz, the world's most dangerous choke point, and it is the primary reason why military planners in Washington have spent decades perfecting a folder that no one ever wants to open. For years, the tension between the United States and Iran has been described as a Cold War, a series of proxy battles and economic sanctions. But behind the closed doors of the Pentagon, the conversation has shifted. The question is no longer if a conflict is possible, but why the logistical pieces for a full-scale invasion are being moved into place right now. This isn't just about politics. It is about a shift in global power that the West cannot afford to ignore. The story of a potential invasion doesn't actually begin in the deserts of Iran, but in the halls of intelligence agencies tracking a silent, invisible threat. For decades, the primary concern was Iran's nuclear program, a shadow that hung over every diplomatic meeting. But recently, a new factor has entered the equation: the collapse of the traditional balance of power in the Middle East. As Iran expands its influence from the Mediterranean to the Gulf of Aden, the United States finds itself backed into a geographical corner. To understand why an invasion is being prepared, you have to look past the headlines and see the map for what it really is. A giant chessboard where the United States is slowly losing its ability to move. But here's where it gets strange. In every modern war game conducted by the United States military, an invasion of Iran ends in a way that shocks the most seasoned generals. Unlike the flat plains of Iraq, Iran is a natural fortress. It is a massive plateau surrounded by jagged mountain ranges that act like a stone wall against any invading force. To take the country, you wouldn't just be fighting an army. You would be fighting the earth itself. Yet, despite these terrifying projections, the buildup of American assets in the region has reached a level not seen in years. This isn't a bluff. The United States is preparing for a scenario where they believe they have no other choice left. The tension only gets worse when you look at the technological evolution of the Iranian military. They realized long ago that they could never match the United States in a traditional tank battle or a dogfight in the sky. Instead, they perfected the art of asymmetric warfare. They have developed a massive arsenal of drones and ballistic missiles that can overwhelm even the most advanced defense systems. What they found next shocked everyone: the ability of a relatively low-tech nation to paralyze a global superpower. By threatening to sink a single tanker in the Strait of Hormuz, Iran can effectively crash the global economy in a single afternoon. This oil weapon is the ultimate deterrent, and it is the very thing the US is currently training to dismantle. And it only gets worse. The geopolitical landscape has shifted in a way that makes a conflict more likely than ever before. In the past, Iran was isolated. Today, they are forming a triple axis with Russia and China. We are seeing Iranian drones on the battlefields of Europe and Chinese investments flowing into Iranian oil fields. For Washington, an invasion isn't just about stopping a nuclear bomb or securing oil. It is about preventing a new global alliance from controlling the heart of the world's energy supply. The United States realizes that if they don't act soon, the window of opportunity to check Iranian power might close forever as they become shielded by other superpowers. What they found next shocked everyone who thought this was just about regime change. Internal documents and strategic shifts suggest that any potential invasion wouldn't look like the wars of the past. There would be no long columns of tanks rolling toward Tehran. Instead, military analysts are looking at a decapitation strategy, a lightning-fast series of strikes designed to disable the country's command structure and its missile sites in a matter of hours. But here is the twist. Iran knows this. They have moved their most valuable assets deep underground, into missile cities carved into the hearts of mountains, some hundreds of meters below the surface. This has forced the US to develop bunker-buster bombs of such massive proportions that they can only be carried by the largest bombers in the fleet. But here's where it gets strange. While the military preparations are visible, there is a silent war happening in the digital world. Iran has become a master of cyber warfare, capable of reaching across oceans to strike at American infrastructure. The US realizes that the moment the first physical boot hits Iranian soil, the lights in American cities could go out. This interconnectedness is the modern-day equivalent of a minefield. The reason the US is preparing so intensely is that they have to solve the simultaneous problem. They must be able to invade, defend their allies, protect the oil flow, and guard their own power grid all at the exact same second. It is the most complex military puzzle in human history. The loop of suspense doesn't end with the military hardware. There is a psychological element that the US is deeply concerned about. Iran has a history of national unity when faced with an outside threat. An invasion could inadvertently solidify the very government the West is trying to pressure. Yet, the cost of doing nothing is starting to outweigh the risk of action. Every day that passes, Iran's reach grows longer, its missiles more accurate, and its alliances stronger. The United States is currently positioned in a ready-to-launch posture because they fear that tomorrow, the cost of an invasion will be twice what it is today. And it only gets worse when you consider the proxy problem. Iran doesn't just exist within its own borders. It has built a ring of fire around its rivals through groups like Hezbollah in Lebanon, the Houthis in Yemen, and various militias in Iraq. An invasion of Iran wouldn't just be a war in Iran. It would be a simultaneous explosion of violence across 5 different countries. The US is preparing for a regional wildfire, moving naval groups into positions where they can intercept missiles from multiple directions at once. This is why the preparation looks so massive. It's not just for one country, but for an entire section of the globe. What makes this even more unsettling is the time bomb of the nuclear deal. With the old agreements in tatters, Iran is closer to high-grade uranium than they have ever been. Intelligence reports suggest they are now weeks, not months, away from having the material for a weapon. This has created a red line that is moving closer every hour. The US military isn't just preparing because they want to, they are preparing because they are on a countdown. In the world of high-stakes geography, a nuclear-armed Iran changes the map of the Middle East forever, making it impossible for the US to protect its interests or its allies without risking a nuclear exchange. The conclusion to this story is as unsettling as the hook. The United States has spent trillions of dollars and decades of planning on a war they hope they never have to fight. But the pieces on the board are moving on their own. The Strait of Hormuz remains a trigger, the mountains of Iran remain a fortress, and the clock on the nuclear program continues to tick. The world watches the movements of aircraft carriers and the deployment of troops, wondering if we are seeing a deterrent or the final rehearsals for a disaster. If the invasion happens, it will be the most significant geographical and military event of the century. But the true mystery isn't whether the US can get in. It's whether anyone, once the first shot is fired, can ever truly get out. The desert and the mountains are waiting, and they have a long history of swallowing empires whole.